Perfect. So, Mike, you mentioned that, hey, when doing your morning routine, eventually over time, it grows stale. It's almost like you hit a plateau. Brian, you mentioned the same thing. And Jason, you mentioned the same thing, and just in a different manner, where if you happen to miss a morning workout, you don't let it affect you negatively as much as it used to back in the day. So, guys, the reason why I want to talk about this, like having a morning routine for starters, it's very important. It kind of sets the tone for the rest of the day. And can really just help you when it comes to having more success at reaching your goals, helping you stay focused. That's the key thing. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. It could be work on your mindset. So affirmations, it could be reading your mantra. It could be writing down some things that you're grateful for. Really doesn't matter. It could be lifting weights, anything that is in alignment with you trying to have success at your health and fitness journey. Okay. It's all about focus. But with that being said, it could also hurt you. Jason, you and I talked about this on another time where you get stuck in your morning routine or get stuck in your, quote unquote, your day to day routine. Where if, let's say, you're traveling or an unexpected injury or something happens at home with the kids and you can't make it to the gym, you're off track. It throws you for a loop, right? Would you say that's true, Jason? Maybe in the
Mm,
past where you kind of got the anxiety or kind of got all stir crazy because you're not able to follow this routine?
Yeah, I'd get mad and I'd get depressed the entire day and I'd let it roll the entire day.
And would you say it's because without doing that, you feel like you wouldn't be able to have success at reaching your goals or, something? I guess like what made you feel depressed?
It was failure. I felt at that point that I failed by not going to the gym. That was part of my routine, right? And that I would not get where I needed to be if I didn't do that every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, this is good. So, guys, one of the biggest things, right, when it comes to having success in your journey is having the right mindset. We always say that that's the foundation. You need to have it. But with that being said, right, there's a quote that we love using here, and it's progression over perfection. And sometimes when we have this routine that we give ourselves, we think it's perfect. It fits into our schedule perfectly. We're able to cross off some boxes perfectly, and everything works out good. We're like a kid in a candy shop. We're like, hey, we're waking up 15 minutes early. We're stretching, we're praying, we're reading the Bible, we're gratitude journaling, right? Life's good. And everything's like that, right? Typically for a few days, few weeks, maybe in a few months. But then all of a sudden, something typically happens. And it's either one of the two things. It's either one, that routine grows stale. Brian, you mentioned about how the things that you're grateful for, you're constantly having to think of new things. And now it's almost like we're doing it just to do it, just to, check off the boxes. That's it. There's no meaning behind it. And then Jason, you kind of mentioned how if you get thrown off your routine, you feel like a failure, you know? So this is where I want to encourage you guys, okay? Having a routine is great, but a routine just sets you up for success, okay? Meaning it keeps you focused on their goals. And I guys want you to think about it like this, all right? Mike, I'll use you for example, okay? Um, if let's just say you can't make it to the gym, okay? Is there a different workout that you would do instead?
I got circuits, body weight circuits and dumbbell circuits on my plan and just switch it up.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. We'll use that. So that's your plan B. Now, if let's just say like you hurt your shoulder and you can't do those circuits, is there another form of exercise you would do?
Absolutely. I've got them. I got Tai Chi practice. I got martial arts. I got meditation. Just walking works.
Walking, we'll use that. Perfect. So you have A plan, perfect day, make it to the gym, but you also have a B plan and a C plan. So my question to everybody else that's on today's call is think about it in terms of working on your mindset, right? You should have some deck of cards. You should have some options, right? Like think about Batman. He has his belt, he has all his gadgets, you know? And he doesn't just use the same gadget over and over and over again to destroy the bad guys and save Gotham. He uses the ones that he needs to do in order to accomplish that job. And sometimes when it comes to you guys waking up in the morning, having the perfect day, the perfect morning routine, whatever the case may be, life's going to throw you curveballs. It always will, right? And that could be injuries. That could be stuff going on at home. That could be stress. That could be travels, anything like that that throws you off of your routine. And that's why it's so important to give yourself options. You know, it's the same thing if let's just say, Jason, we'll go to you now. You're a creature of habit, right? You eat the same foods typically all the time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So that's your perfect day. You know what to eat, hitting the right calories, the right macros. Now, let me ask you this. If let's say your wife decides to say, hey, Jason, on Friday, right, we're going to go out to eat. What would you do? Would you do anything differently?
Absolutely. First off, I'm going to get online and try to find the menu to the place we're going and already
Yeah.
figure out what I'm going to eat. If I can't do that, then I'm probably going to do a combination of a couple things, which is intermittent fasting that day and protein sparing, trying to get a little more protein in the morning and save some other stuff, and then just track it as I go that night.
Okay, perfect. Now, that was your plan B. Now, let's just say, like, hey, you still want to stick within a healthy calorie range. You want to do all this, but temptation happens, cravings kick in, you know, and let's just say you guys go to Cheesecake Factory and the waiter's like, hey, Jason, what kind of cheesecake you want? Right. And you're like, red velvet, because that's my favorite. And the waiter's like, all right, I'll bring you out, a slice. And you're like, no, I want the whole cake. Like 4,000, 6,000 calories. Just bring me the whole red velvet cake. I'm going to smash. I'm going to show Coach Joe a lesson on who's the real food champion. And you smash. And you track everything because you have integrity. And by the end of the day, you're 10,000 calories in the hole. What happens the next day, Jason?
Now, not a dang tootin' thing because I'm putting that on there because that's just me. And I think you know me too well. Ah,
What happens the next day though? Like,
I
let's
get
talk.
right back. I get right back at it. There is no regret. Right back on the track for me.
Exactly. You get right back on it. So that's your plan C, right? So you
Yep.
mentioned, hey, perfect day. I'm going to track everything, creature of habit. I know I'm going to hit these goals. Plan A. Okay, hey, your wife hits you up. We're going to go out to Cheesecake Factory. Now we got to shift some things around. Now we have intermittent fasting. We have a protein sparing option, whatever the case may be. And then, hey, even if we overindulge, we still have a plan C option. So that way we're not off track. We just get right back on track, as you kind of mentioned. Okay. So let me ask you guys this. We talked about 3 different options for fitness and training and working out. We talked about 3 different options when it comes to nutrition. But Mike, what did I say is the foundation for success inside this coaching program?
Progression over perfection.
Well, but first, this thing,
Mindset. Yeah.
mindset. So be honest, guys. How many times do we actually have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different options when it comes to working on our mindset? And this is why it's so important to have, right, the right mindset. Before we start talking about this, we talked about Sherry, right? And expectations and, hey, focusing on the right things. And this is why it's so important that you guys are focusing, right? Keyword focus on the right things. You can look at the glass being half full rather than being half empty, right? That's good. You can look in terms of your goals and where you're trying to get to, or sometimes you might have to look in the rearview mirror and also see, hey, look at the progression of where I've been, overcoming in these challenges. So, Mike, Brian, Jason, let's talk more about mindset. Okay. And let's put together for the remainder of today's call, options, right? If let's just say we can't stick to a morning routine, what is the best thing, easy things, something that even if somebody, let's just forget about the whole morning routine. Let's just say if somebody has no time at all in the mornings to even have a morning routine, somebody like yourself, Jason, where it's just get up and go to the gym, but they also need to work on their mindset. Because for this individual, that mindset plays tricks on them. Sometimes it tells them, hey, they're winning, and other times it tells them they're losing. That mindset also tells them they're not good enough. That mindset also tells them, comparing themselves to others. That mindset also tells them, hey, you're never going to have success at reaching your goals. And we've all experienced this, right? This is just that bad wolf. So what are options that you guys to think of? And then I'll come on here last, right? When it comes to what to do, how to do it, and how to just win that battle between our own ears. Because the reality is that's the battle that matters the most. It's not our own health and fitness journeys. It is what we're telling ourselves, right? Our thoughts, our internal conversation. That's what truly matters. So, Mike, we'll start with you. Jason will go to you, and then Brian will finish with you, and then I'll dive in last. What are some ways here? Options, right? Just like different options for working out, different options for nutrition. What are some different options to kind of help reprogram, right, our mindset for success or help us overcome that adversity when we need it the most?
You know, one of the ones we always bring up is, you know, you got affirmations, positive self-talk, you know, flip that script.
Okay, so let's go off that. So let's just say you wake up, you head right up to the morning, right, to the mirror, and you start saying some affirmation to yourself. And let's just say, like, let's say one of your affirmations, Mike. We'll say you're the good guy, I'm the bad guy.
Sure. I love who I am and who I am becoming.
I love that. So now I'm the bad guy, I'm the bad wolf. And now I'm just telling yourself, dude, that's stupid. Why are you even saying this? Like, this is dumb. And then you start to feel, right, some emotions off of that where you're like, I just don't feel positive. Right? I just don't feel good about saying that. What's option number 2 now?
Gratitude.
Okay. And how do you do it?
Just look around the room. What are you grateful for? Pick 5 things, right?
Okay.
Move through the house.
So let's say we're staying in the bathroom and you pick 5 things: toothpaste, toilet paper, toothbrush, running water, shower, right? We'll use those. Okay. And now that bad wolf now is coming down there and it's saying to yourself again now, yeah, but everybody has these, right? Like you can go live in Section 8 housing, you still got all this stuff, right?
Not everybody.
True, right? But around, we'll say around the area, right? In
Yep.
this United States, at least, hey, most people have this stuff. And so now you're thinking about these things that you're grateful for. And it's just, once again, it doesn't make you feel any different. What's option number 3?
Meditation.
Ooh, I like it. Okay. And let's just say you're meditating. Okay. Everything's all good, but you can't calm down that voice in your head. Now what? Let's go to option 4.
Write that voice on paper, journal it.
I love it.
Learn it later.
That's good. That's good. Right? Get that voice on paper. But you guys can see here that, hey, Mike planned for affirmations to work on his mindset. Didn't go his way. Gratitude didn't go his way. Okay. Meditation didn't go his way. Threw him another curveball. And then he wrote down, hey, I'm going to just put this down on paper. What is this voice? What are these feelings? Why am I thinking this way? Right. And it's almost like we talk about this a lot, used to at least a lot. Don't respond. Don't react. Take a step back and observe. And it's almost like what you just did or talked about, Mike, where it's like we're observing those thoughts. Why are we thinking this way? But typically, guys, like you're going to see here that these trends that you're going to go on, right? When it comes to work on your mindset, when it comes to kind of helping yourself, you're going to get distractions. You're going to get curveballs. You're also going to get just these days where you wake up and you just don't feel like it. But Jason, what do we always say? Successful people what?
Do things they don't want to do anyways.
Yeah. Discipline is doing the things today that's hard to achieve the success that you want tomorrow, later on in life, you know? So Jason, let's go to you now.
Yeah,
What
that
do you
was
do, what do you do in the morning?
that was all great stuff, but straight up, there are days that I don't want nothing to do with any of that stuff, right? I
Perfect.
just, the bad wolf is like, whatever, that stuff's stupid. But
So
that's why, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, let's use that, right? So
Right.
I'm the bad wolf, all that stuff, stupid, mumbo gumbo garbage, Joe's woo-woo nonsense. It doesn't do anything but just waste time, right?
Right.
What's
And
going on
I
in your
have
head
to,
now?
and I have to physically make myself go through those progressions. But one of the great things that we've done in the last, I don't know, year or two here at Heartletics is 2 things: a manifesto and a deep rooted why. I have
Yeah.
them written out. I have them in so many locations that I can't not find it, right? I got it in my car, I got it at work, I got it on my refrigerator. So the days I don't want to go and look myself in the mirror and say affirmations, I have that and I read through it. And that flips that switch on those days. And if you've done them right, you can't come out of reading those and still be in the same mood that you were.
Yeah, I love that. So we're gonna dive into that actually a lot before we get to Brian. Um, for starters, right? Like the reason why that's so important, I'm going to say this now. I'm going to say after Jason always also talks about the manifesto and his deep rooted why, is because remember, guys, when it comes to your mindset, it's not this crazy inner confidence thing or crazy like, hey, if we just do this, we're casting some crazy witch spell or anything like that. Make it simple, guys. What you focus on, you put your energy towards. Plain and simple. You know, like it's your RAS, your reticular activating system. Let's get into some science-based stuff now. So if let's just say you happen to go buy a car, right? And you go to the car dealership and you're like, oh man, this is a great car. I've never seen this before. You buy the car, all of a sudden you start seeing that car everywhere now. Why? It's in your head, your reticular activation, right? So it's like what you focus on, that's where you're putting more energy towards. So most of the time, like 80% of the people out there, they only focus on the negative, the scarcity, the lack of finances, the lack of health, all this stuff. And it's literally just this vicious cycle. They focus on this, they put more energy, they bring it right back in their life. They focus on this, they bring more energy, they bring it right back in their life. Right now, what Mike was saying about like gratitude, affirmations, right? Meditation, it's a great way to stop that in its tracks and to get focused on what's better for you. And what Jason just said with the manifesto and with the strong rooted why, what does it do? It gets your focus back on what matters the most, you know? And real quick, Jason, before you talk about that, there's a great book called The Man's Search for Meaning. Okay. I forget who wrote the book, but it was about this individual who was in a concentration camp. Okay. And I mean, let's face it, life was brutal for them. He didn't know if he was going to die that day or whatever the case may be. And Viktor Frankl, that's the name. That's the author, Viktor Frankl. He talked about how there was this guy who was eating soup, just like dirt water, like, in the concentration camp. And he found a little pea at the bottom of his soup. And he started just crying tears of joy for just having a small little pea. And it gave him hope, right? For the next day and the next day in search of, hey, maybe I'll get another pea in my soup. Maybe I'll get another pea in my soup. And it's this whole thing about like what you're focusing on, because as much as he's being tortured and, like just hell and all this stuff that's going on, he's so grateful because he had a small little pea in his dirty little soup water. So just let that sink in, guys, because remember, what you focus on, that's what you're putting attention towards. So, Jason, let's do a deep dive. Manifesto, strong why. What are these things? How does it apply? Why does it matter?
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll start with the deep rooted why, because that goes back to the very beginning, right? So, why do I wake up at 3 a.m.? Why do I eat so many damn egg whites? Why? Why do I let Coach Joe talk me into doing 10 minutes of walking lunges? By the way, my butt still hurts 2 days after that. Why? Why do we do what we're doing? Is it just because I want six pack abs? Yeah, that's great. That'd be awesome to have that one day. I sat down and did my deep rooted why, and it's so much more deeper than that. I do it for my family, my wife, my children, my daughters. I do it for all of you guys at Heartletics. I do it for anybody that I'm around on a daily basis that I can affect positively, right?
Yeah.
Because prior to Heartletics, it was all negative. I didn't care about nothing. It was all doom and gloom. But change that. If I can just take one person and change their life, and I had one little speck to do with that, everything I do is worth it. Doesn't matter after that. So that's the deep rooted why for me.
I love that. So before we go to the manifesto, let's talk about that. Let's just say that's the roots, right? That's underneath the soil, because I love tying in the goals with the tree. So if that's the roots, the deep rooted why, okay, that's underneath the soil that nobody sees but Jason, because it means the most to him. And let's just say that trunk of the tree, that's your habits. That's you doing those brutal lunges where your butt's still sore 2 days later. That's you eating your 50 pounds of egg whites every single day, whatever the case may be, right? And that's you doing your habits. And then let's say the goals, right at the very top, the branches, that's, how you look. That's the physique. That's the mindset. That's the goals, the ambitions in life. Now, let me ask you this, Jason. If let's say we had to remove that why, okay, and you're like, okay, whatever, I still got these goals, still gonna do these habits, and you had to do 10 minutes of walking lunges and then eat all those egg whites, whatever the case may be, because you want to have a success at reaching these goals, but there was no strong rooted why. How long do you think it's going to last before you stop doing it?
Not going to last long because it's going to take one thing to get me off track and be like, screw it. I don't need to do this. There's no reason to, because
Yeah.
it sucks some days doing it.
Yeah. So the moral in having like a strong rooted why, guys, that's your true form of discipline. That fuel source lasts way longer than motivation. There's a meaning behind it. It's something more than just a physique, So now, Jason, let's go into this manifesto. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I personally, it might be true, but for me, the manifesto is more of a roadmap. Because mine is my 2025 manifesto. It will change in 2026.
Yeah.
So, I've got my header, what this is for, why I'm doing this, kind of a little bit of my why in there. And then I've got my goals listed out for 2025. And then I've got affirmations listed out to help me with those goals. And then how am I going to track this all? So doing our body stats, doing, the pictures and all that fun stuff, and keeping track of nutrition, all that. So my manifesto is a roadmap of where I want to go in 2025.
Love it. And so going back to the key of all this, when you read that manifesto, does it help you focus back on why we're doing this?
Absolutely. Yep.